Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Transfer Orders versus Transfer Journals in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. My name is Katie and I'll be the facilitator today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question area in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and we'll answer questions at the end. This session is being recorded and posted on our blog as well as shared with you later this week. Now I would like to introduce our presenter today, Nico Papagianni, Solutions Specialist on our Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management team. Nico, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Katie. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we go over this webinar on transfer orders versus transfer journals. As Katie said, my name is Nico Papagianni. I'm a solutions specialist here at Encore, working in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations and specializing in the supply chain management side of things. So for our quick agenda today, we're going to be looking at what are the differences between two of the most commonly used inventory journals and two of the most confusingly named inventory journals, transfer orders and transfer journals. So we're going to go over the purpose and primary functions of the transfer orders. We're going to do a walkthrough example of how to make a transfer order, how to ship a transfer order, how to receive a transfer order in both the inventory management side of things, as well as the new warehouse management solution, commonly known as advanced warehousing. Then we're going to look at the differences between a transfer order and a transfer journal, as well as walk through an example of a transfer journal. So to start, let's look at a transfer order here. So a transfer order is normally used when shipping information is needed and the warehouses in question that you are transferring goods between are far enough apart where you need to traceability of the shipment from one warehouse to another. So that might mean that you are creating a shipment record and probably processing some kind of goods in transit between those two warehouses, and you need visibility of that inventory as it moves through its journey from one warehouse to another. This transfer order does have financial implications when compared to a transfer journal, because we will need to capture costs for the shipping. If we have some kind of carrier service, if we incur any kind of taxes or fees along the way, those can also be captured as well. These transfer orders are integrated into normal operations of the warehouse staff. So that would be their normal processes of picking, of packing, and shipping. So the most common way that we process transfer orders is by having someone create a transfer order, release it to the warehouse for picking, and then the warehouse staff fulfills that task of picking, packing, and shipping basically the exact same way that they would on a sales order, for example. So those can, most of the time, those can be thought of as in tandem with one another. One of the most common uses for transfer orders when dealing with shipments between warehouses is if someone is using, or a company is using, consignment inventory, meaning they might virtually ship these transfers to a different warehouse that the company owns, meaning they do not relinquish control of the inventory, but they would like to physically ship that product to a customer while holding the goods in consignment. And then once those goods are removed and sold by the customer, then we can remove those items from the consignment warehouse using either an inventory adjustment journal or using a sales order if you require an invoice. One of the great features of transfer orders is that it uses transit warehouses. And transit warehouse is a specific type of warehouse inside of Dynamics 365 where the goods sit while they are in transit. And now normally those transit warehouses are locked, so you can have visibility of what is in that transit warehouse. So if someone was inquiring about the status of certain items that are being shipped, they can look inside of that transit warehouse and see what goods are a part of it and where they are in their journey to the destination warehouse. The goods, once they arrive at the destination warehouse, will need to be systematically received, and that is either using the UI inside of Dynamics 365 to receive those goods, or if the destination warehouse is an advanced warehouse enabled warehouse, then the workers in the warehouse can receive those goods on their mobile device. One of the biggest downside to transfer orders is that it is difficult to correct errors once the shipment has been shipped, right? So if you're creating a transfer order and you release it down to the warehouse for picking, packing, and shipping, once that shipment has left the warehouse, the only way to reverse that transaction is to receive it at the destination warehouse and then reverse the transfer, meaning create a new transfer order to ship those goods back to the originating warehouse. The reason that happens is because once you ship something on a transfer order and it is in that transit warehouse, the only outcome in the transit warehouse is that the goods need to be received at the destination warehouse. And I think we'll see that as we go through our example here for transfer orders. The nice thing as well about transfer orders is that due to them being systematically shipped and received, you can have shipping documents associated with the shipment on the transfer order. So if you have for example, a third-party shipping software integrated in with Dynamics, that will allow you to get tracking information, it'll allow you to rate shop for shipping information, and it will associate all of that data with the shipment on the transfer order. So let's look at a transfer journal now in comparison to a transfer order. So transfer journals are much simpler to make and to process. They are generally used for relocating and reallocating products in a warehouse from one location to another or one warehouse to another, where you expect there to be almost no transit time between the two warehouses or the two locations. This means that there will be no shipping information associated with it, and there also is no receiving of this goods into inventory. As soon as you process a transfer journal, those goods are available instantly in the system, right? So if you can imagine being inside of a warehouse and you see a good in location A and you need to move it to location B, a transfer journal is the best option. It'll allow you to define by item and by warehouse which location you want to move to. And then as soon as you post the transfer journal and that inventory is physically moved from one spot to another, that inventory is instantly available to be used. So with that being said, let's go through an example of a transfer order. And this transfer order will be the standard processing. So this means primarily using the inventory management module and not using the warehouse management module, also known as advanced warehousing or WMS. So in general, here's our process for running a transfer order. We'll go through the process of creating a transfer order, of releasing that order for picking in the warehouse. We'll go through shipping that order to the destination warehouse. We will look at the inventory as it is in transit to the warehouse, and then we will receive the transfer order at the destination warehouse. So I am going to open up here our Dynamics test environment, and we'll go through and create a transfer order. So first of all, we will go into the modules here. We will go to the inventory management module. We'll open up the outbound orders section and go to transfer order. In here, we will simply start by clicking the new button at the top, and then we will populate the from warehouse and the to warehouse. So in this example, I am going to be sending goods from warehouse 11, and I will be receiving them at warehouse 21. We can then give this transfer order a ship date and a receipt date. For simplicity's sake, I will just say that I am shipping this order today and receiving this order today. But you can adjust these ship dates and receipt dates to be more accurate depending on what you know about the warehouse's workload and what transit time you expect this transfer order to have. So in the transfer order lines section of the screen, we will go ahead and just add some products that we want to transfer. So I will add one product here, and then we give it a transfer quantity. So let's say that I am transferring 30 units of this, and we will get automatic populations of the ship date and the receipt date that come directly from the data that we entered on the header. I'll enter one more line, and we will add product. Last product, and we will give this a transfer quantity of, let's say we're going to move 10. So again, same ship date and same receipt date from the header. All right, and then once we are done there, we will save this record just to make sure we don't have any issues. So now we have a created transfer order. This is queued up. We have items, we have quantities, and we have a ship date, as well as where it's coming from and where it's going to. One thing that I would like to note, if your products have storage dimension groups that need the location defined as well as the warehouse, click the inventory dropdown, display dimensions, make sure you have the location dimension open, just because you may need to define that in order for the shipment to process correctly. We can also check down here. If we look at our dimensions in the line details, the location is also available down there if you would rather do it in the line details as well. These products that I have here on my transfer order lines are not location controlled, so we simply just need to define the to and the from warehouse. Once this is ready, we'll go back to our inventory management module and let's release this transfer order for picking. So we're going to go inventory management. We will go to inquiries and, we'll go to periodic tasks and we will release transfer order picking. Now, one thing to note before we click on this button is we will need to define our transfer order number in this next module. So make sure we come over here and let's copy this transfer order number, go back to our inventory management module and release transfer order picking. In here, this will pop up as a query as to which transfer orders we would like to release. Find the section of this query where the transfer number is listed as the field, and let's update our transfer number with the new transfer number that we just created. It is possible to release multiple transfer orders at once. You simply just separate the numbers by a comma and then enter the next order number. Since we're just releasing one, I will limit it to just order 178 and then click OK. And here we are. Now we are in the release transfer order for picking screen. What I would like to do is simply click this setup, deduct released for picking, and this will deduct the quantities as we pick them. So let's click save here. And once we are done with that, we will go back to our transfer order. So we'll go to inventory management, outbound orders, transfer order. Let's open up our transfer order that we created earlier, 178. Go to the ship tab at the top, and let's click ship transfer order. Under the overview, let's change the quantity from the ship now value. Let's change to available quantity, and we'll notice that that little yellow exclamation mark went away, and we can see that our inventory where the is expecting to ship are the two items that we added to our transfer order to begin with. Verify that the quantities look the same as they did on our transfer order, and click OK to ship. Now we will wait for this to process. And you can see at the top, operation has completed. And we'll notice at the very top as well that the status of this transfer order is now shipped, meaning it is in shipment progress. So let's see if we can find this inventory in the transit warehouse since it is shipped. So let's go to inventory management again. Let's go to inquiries and reports, and let's look at our on hand list here. Let's simply bring up those two item numbers that we had on our transfer journal. So I will go to the item number filter, say is one of, and we will put in our item numbers here to search. And we will click apply to see here. All right. Let's click on our dimensions at the top, and let's look at this inventory by warehouse. So as we can see, we have inventory in warehouse 11, our destination warehouse, or sorry, our source warehouse where we were sending from. Here's our physical inventory values. And if we go to our transactions screen up here, we can see that we have sold inventory on a transfer order shipment for today. And here's our transfer order for our quantity. And we can do the same for the other line item, highlight that, go to transactions, and here is our transfer order shipment, that quantity, and this sold. You'll notice that on this screen, it shows that we have 70 in physical inventory. We had 100 originally, but because we've shipped 30 and shipped 10, our physical inventory has been deducted. Let's go back to our transfer order and let's prepare to receive these goods at the destination warehouse. Another thing to note, obviously, the transfer status, you can see quite easily that it's been shipped, going to this warehouse, expected to be received today. So let's open this up and let's go to the Receive tab and let's receive these goods into inventory. So clicked on the Receive. Let's go back to our Update and change the value on Update from Receive Now to Shipment, meaning that it is looking at the shipment data to decide what to receive. So we have these two items in that were on the shipment. Check their received quantities match our shipped quantities, and let's click OK. Now the goods have been received. You'll notice our transfer order status here has been updated to received. And so I expect them to be fully received into our destination warehouse, which is warehouse 21. If I come back to my on-hand list, so inventory management, inquiries and reports, on-hand list, we will view this information. It saves my filters from last time, filtering down to those two item numbers. Let's apply those filters, and then let's go up to our dimensions. Let's enable that warehouse dimension so we can see by warehouse. And let's look, instead of just in warehouse 11, let's clear that filter so I can look at every warehouse here. And here we are in our destination warehouse now, 21. You can see that we now have 75 total units. If I come up to my transactions, I can see that I received a transfer order from 178 for 10 total, increasing the value and quantity of that inventory by 10. And if I look at the other product that came into warehouse 21, go up to transactions, transfer order receive for 30 units. Okay, so that's how to process a transfer order using the standard inventory process. Now, let's look at some of the differences that we might see using the warehouse management module. So the release of that order would be the same process. The only difference is that we would use a different menu option. That menu option would be under the warehouse management module inside of Dynamics, which is all the way here at the bottom. And then we will be going under the release to warehouse option and the automatic release of transfer orders. Same process after that. Click on this, filter to the transfer order number that we created before, and click OK. Once that information is sent down to the warehouse staff will use the configurations designed in their warehouse management module and use the WMS app provided to pick, pack, and ship those products. Once those products have arrived at their destination warehouse, the warehouse staff will receive those products on the WMS app, similar to the way that we did in our inventory management walkthrough, but using a specially designed menu option on their WMS app to receive those goods into warehouse. The reason that I don't walk through this is that the WMS app is highly configurable and the advanced warehousing module is highly configurable, and it will generally depend on the configuration of the customer who set up the WMS app. But in general, the process is very similar between the two. Let's step over and walk through a transfer journal. Now, if we remember from earlier, this process is much simpler than the transfer order. This is primarily for moving inventory from one warehouse location to another, or one warehouse to another that are physically close together, where we don't need any kind of shipping visibility or shipping documentation. So in general, here are our steps for processing a transfer journal. We will create a transfer journal. We will populate items, locations, and quantities. We will validate that journal, and then we will post the journal, and inventory will be instantly available. So let's jump back into our test environment here. Let's go to the inventory management module just like before. Instead of going to outbound orders, let's go to journal entries, let's go to items, and let's go to transfer. You'll notice that this doesn't say transfer journal, it just says transfer. This is because all of the options in here in this menu are all journals, and Microsoft, maybe naively, assumed that people would know movement journal, inventory adjustment journal, transfer journal. So we'll go into our transfer journal here. Let's click new at the top to make a new transfer journal. We will be going from site 1, just like before. We will be going from warehouse 1, just like before. And good thing to note here about which site and warehouse we're selecting. This is the source site and warehouse. So this is where we'll be pulling the inventory from, not where we will be moving the inventory to. Let's click OK, and let's get into our journal. So now that we're in our transfer journal, let's go under the journal lines and let's add a new line. And notice that the date populates here to today. We can keep that as is since we're planning on moving these goods today. If you needed to move them in the future, you could obviously adjust this date to a future date and wait to process this journal until that date. Let's add an item number in here. So let's add item right here. It'll auto-populate the product name and the product from site and from warehouse, since we defined those when creating the journal. And we're going to be moving this to the same site, assuming that sites are generally separated by quite large distances. And again, this process is for moving relatively short distances where we don't need any kind of tracking or shipping information. We're going to be moving from warehouse 11, which is the source, and it's going to move this into warehouse 12. We are going to define what location this product is coming from. So I will do that by clicking on the from location, looking at where it's available on hand. We can see that we have some available in warehouse 11 and location 11. And we will be moving this into warehouse 12. And let's look at our locations here. If I go to my available locations in warehouse 12, I can see that 12 is an available location. Now I have one completed line there as far as where it's coming from and where it's going to. And if I scroll to the right here on the journal lines, I can give it the quantity that I would like to move. So let's say I'm moving 3 of these units. The important thing about this quantity field is that it always displays as negative. And it displays it that way because the system is telling you that you are removing these products from the source and delivering them into the destination. And because this line is created from the perspective of the source warehouse, our inventory movement is negative, not positive. So ensure that it always reads as a negative to pull those products out of inventory and add them to the destination inventory. Everything looks good there. So let's save our record at the top, and we will go to validate this to make sure that there are no errors in our journal, and click OK. The check is run. The system says the journal is okay. So we will go click on post, and we will post the journal. Now this transaction has been recorded. This inventory is instantly available in our warehouse 12 location, location 12. So if I take this item number here, and I'll copy this, and let's go back to our on-hand list under inquiries and reports, and let's look at this piece of inventory. And let's say I just want to see it in warehouse 12. So I will filter on warehouse 12. We'll go to our dimensions. Let's open up the warehouse dimension again. And now I can see this product in warehouse 12, and I'm looking at its physical and available inventory. If I look at the transactions for this, I can see that I have a purchase on our transfer of 1177 for 3 units. So that is the record that we moved this product from a warehouse 11 to warehouse 12. And that is as simple as it is to make a transfer journal. Quite a bit easier than making a transfer order, and very useful if you're looking to move items from one warehouse or one location to another quickly and simply. And with that, are there any questions?
Great, thanks, Nico. So if anyone does have any questions, please enter them into the question area in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. In the meantime, I am going to share the link to our events page in the chat. So if you'd like to check out previous webinars or register for upcoming sessions, you can do that there. I am also going to be sharing the link where you can set your email preferences and opt into our emails so that you can stay in the know about upcoming events and see our latest blog articles. So I don't see any questions that have come through, Nico, and we are just about at time for today. But if anybody does have any questions, please put them in the chat and we can get back to you by email later today or later next week when I will be sending out this recording. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Katie.